भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण. My humble pranams, obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas, devotees. Happy Gaur Purnima in advance. So it's so nice that devotees are getting immersed in the meditation about Lord Chaitanya and his pastimes. Normally before celebrating Gaur Purnima or any festival for that matter, we celebrate Adiva ceremony on the previous day. For Janmashtami, for Gaur Purnima, we celebrate Adivas the previous day. So in that celebration, we keep the place ready for the festival. We keep the paraphernalias. We purify the atmosphere. We keep things ready for the arrival of Supreme Lord. In continuation, we also purify our mind and heart so that Krishna will be established there. So all these satsang which is happening before Gaur Purnima is like we are setting the scene, slowly pushing ourselves in the memory of Lord Chaitanya, in remembering Lord Chaitanya, meditating on the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. It is very important to get prepared internally. Sometimes when we go for a function, some gathering, immediately we get physically prepared. Sometimes we decide this dress should be worn, I should go and deliver this talk. We prepare so many things physically. Often we forget to prepare ourselves internally, getting ready for the big day. So this is like a prelude. We are internally preparing ourselves so that we can meditate very intensely on the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. The Goswamis had written, Tabe Gaura na hoito. If Lord Chaitanya wouldn't have appeared, what would be our situation? If Srila Prabhupada wouldn't have appeared, what would be our situation? We will be one among the regular people who are completely attached to the material pleasures of life. Even now we are attached to material pleasures of life. But Hare Krishna devotees are very good in giving Krishna conscious reasons. I am attached to this thing because I can use this in the service of Krishna. I don't know whether we are really using it or not, but we always give a nice Krishna conscious excuses. Anyway, just we are trying to get ready. And this beautiful, I don't know why this topic was selected. Very interesting, Sakshi Gopal. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they were on a pilgrimage. They went on parikrama for months together. In this small satsang, I would like to know how many of you have been to Sakshi Gopal temple. Maybe you can type yes in your chat box. We have now 25-30 devotees. Ramchandra Prabhuji had been to Sakshi Gopal temple. That's it? Oh, not much. Okay, Madhav Prabhu. Only few, very few. Okay, welcome to India. So, Sakshi Gopal temple, Krishna is life-size deity. Life-size deity. Okay, how many of you have been to Mayapur? You can type yes. Yes, many. Oh, okay. Many had been to Mayapur. The Madhav deity, Radha Madhav deity, when the deity was carved, they took lot of references from Sakshi Gopal deity. So Sakshi Gopal deity is life size, which means that was Krishna's height when Krishna walked and came. And this pastime happened say about 800-900 years back. So 900 years back Krishna walked, and that's the deity. And you can see the nerves in the body. It is so amazing when you closely examine the deity. We have to believe. Even an atheistic doesn't have any excuse to say. He has to believe the deity which walked all the way from Vrindavan to Andhra Pradesh, Vidyanagara. Any Telugu devotee here in the session? Vidyanagara was something like 20 kilometers from Rajmahendri. So the deity walked all the way from Vrindavan to Vidyanagar. And Nityananda Prabhu had travelled the whole Bharata Varsha. I am from Trivandrum, and Nityananda Prabhu had come here also to our place. He had travelled to Tamil Nadu, he had travelled to Andhra, he had travelled all of South India, Himalayas. So Nityananda Prabhu is like a Tirthasthan Acharya. So when any devotee asks anything about the holy places, then Lord Chaitanya will say, speak to Nityananda Prabhu. He is like a Tirtha Acharya. Even Navadvip Mandal Parikrama, Nityananda Prabhu took Jiva Goswami all around and showed the place. That is how even Navadvip Mandal Parikrama came into existence. So, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they were traveling and they went to a place called Katak in Orissa. And the deity was amazing. So, pilgrimage, it is very important, and Prabhupada gave lot of importance for visiting Mayapur and Vrindavan. You know this famous pastime when the GBC came and told Prabhupada that taking devotees all the way to India for this annual Gaur Purnima festivals is very costly. Taking hundreds and hundreds of devotees from US and Europe to India every year, it's very costly. If we cut it down, then we can build temples, we can print books, and GBC very genuinely suggested. It's a very famous pastime. Prabhupada was very unhappy about it. He denied. And he said, if you want to cut down, you cut down a meal, but don't cut down annual festivals of Mayapur. So Prabhupada gave lot of importance for parikrama. In Ramayana it is said, if at all you can repay the debt towards your parents, you can take them on a pilgrimage at their elderly age. If at all you can repay. I don't know how many of us have taken our parents on a pilgrimage to holy places. Ramayana says, if you want to repay, then better take your parents. Right? And that is how Shravan Kumar took his blind parents in basket to all the holy places. So when we go on pilgrimage, somehow we forget the date, the time. After a couple of days, we go to Vrindavan, Mayapur, after 3-4 days, you will forget what day is today, what is the date, and automatically the thought about about the holy place, about Krishna, about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it becomes intense. Because Mayapur is like it's a spiritual embassy inside this material world. If people are very fortunate if they have visited holy places, Mayapur, Vrindavan. In this connection, there is a beautiful pastime of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I don't know, you might have heard this. He had a disciple in Navadvip or somewhere, I forgot the name of the place. And I think either he or his mom, they had cancer. So the devotee went and approached his spiritual master, I would like to meet my mom. I don't know, one of them got cancer, either the boy or the mother. I think the disciple got cancer and his days are counted. So he went and asked his spiritual master Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, can I go and meet my mom, because I don't know how many days I've got, right? And to the surprise, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur denied his proposal. And devotees were very surprised, because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is known for his compassion. How could such a powerful person, such a great personality, pure Vaishnava, say no? And that too, this boy is dying and he just wanted to meet his mom for the last time. And they were very surprised. And even the boy was surprised and he was very disappointed. But because his spiritual master told him not to travel, not to go and meet his mom, he just kept quiet. And as days passed by, his health started deteriorating very badly. And they all came to know this boy is just going to live hardly for a week. He won't survive more than that. And in the last days, he was very deeply, very intently meditating on Krishna, chanting the holy names and everything, because he also knew that his time is getting closer. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur told him, okay, now you can go and meet your mom. Then he said, no, I don't want to go now. He said, no, you should go now. You should, because you desired so. You should go now. You should go and meet. But he was not he was reluctant to travel. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur forced him to travel. And he went there to meet his mom, but in his heart, he was simply meditating on Navadvip, holy place, chanting Krishna's name. Even though he was with his mother and all his relatives came and they were, very emotional, sympathizing with him. But his heart was completely in Navadvip, thinking about the holy place. Then the devotees went and asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he wanted, you didn't allow, but when he was reluctant, why you forced him to go? Then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said he was not prepared. If I would have given him permission initially, he would have gone home. People will be emotional, they will sympathize, and he will also cry, and he will not be meditating on Krishna. But now his heart is deeply, intently meditating on the holy place. So even he goes back, even if he leaves his body at home, he will definitely go back to Godhead. So pilgrimage once in a while is very important. Our mind, our heart, our consciousness gets purified. Prabhupada gave a lot of importance for parikrama. And the present spiritual masters also, they take their disciples annually to Vrindavan, to Mayapur. So today we are talking about the pilgrimage, parikrama of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and they went to Cuttack, Orissa. And this beautiful deity, Sakshi Gopal, the life-size, the deity who walked all the way from Vrindavan to Vidyanagara in Andhra Pradesh. And Lord Chaitanya was so moved by the darshan, and Mahaprabhu stayed there overnight and chanting, and devotees were in bliss. And Nityananda Prabhu narrated the beautiful pastime. And that pastime is also connected to parikrama. It's all about parikrama. So two devotees, one elderly, very elderly Brahmana and a younger Brahmana, they went on parikrama. They went to Gaya, they went to Kashi, they went to, Allahabad, Prayag Tirtha, and finally they reached Vrindavan. I don't know how many of you have been to Vrindavan, but the place where Govindji Mandir is there, exactly in that location, where the present Govindji Mandir is there. This pastime happened, 800, 900 years back. So in that place, they were relaxing, and the elderly Brahmana said to the younger one, how nice you have been to me throughout. One important thing we should understand. Bhakti means seva. Srila Prabhupada is the first acharya to translate the word bhakti into devotional service. Before that, whenever this term bhakti is translated into English, they will say devotion. But Prabhupada was the first person to translate this word bhakti to devotional service. Because what is bhakti? There should be a there should be a method, a process to express. There is no condition. There is a beautiful saying in Upanishad. The sun has never told earth that you are debtor to me. Pay $500 every month because I light you up. I supply nutritions to you. You are debtor to me. You have to pay so much money to me every month. There is nothing like that. That is unconditional, loving, devotional service. Sun keeps on supplying for ages. So in the same way, seva means ahaituki apratihata, unconditioned. Simply it should be done as a duty, like a baby slips and trips and falls on the floor, and mother spontaneously runs towards the baby. The mother doesn't sit and meditate. Okay, my 1.5-year-old baby had fell down. He would have got hurt. Now it's my duty to go and pick him up. No, just comes spontaneously. The day when devotional service becomes a habit, Rupa Goswami said, Anushilanam. Shilanam means habit. It should be habit. Like every day morning you get up, automatically you do certain things. You don't sit and think, okay, let me take down a note, let me do a checklist. Okay, have I finished bathing? Okay, have I finished brushing? You don't put a lot of attention to the things. It just happens automatically because you are habituated. And when devotional service happens like that, spontaneously, then we are qualified to enter the spiritual world. Now we are pushing ourselves. We have meetings. We bring people to inspire us. And we schedule, we plan, we make it attractive with little extra prasadam, entertainment. And we have to inspire, push ourselves so much so that we get into service. It is not spontaneous, right? So these two devotees, elderly Brahmana and the younger Brahmana, were relaxing in the Gopalji Mandir, which was there where the Govindji temple is there now. And the elderly Brahmana was filled with gratitude. This is also a very important quality of a Vaishnava, to be very thankful for all that we have got in spiritual life. He was filled with gratitude to this younger one. Normally we are grateful to the seniors. Very rarely we are grateful to neophytes and juniors. But here, the elderly Brahmana was filled with gratitude to the younger one, and he was telling, I have been rude to you. I was speaking rash to you. Still you were traveling with me, doing all the menial things, assistance for me. Even my son wouldn't do this. Because when I asked my relatives to accompany me because I'm very elderly, they all denied. But you volunteered. I'm very grateful to you. And I don't know how I'm going to repay. Then the younger boy said, No, you are like my spiritual master. You're like my father. You're very elderly. It is my duty to serve Vaishnavas. And Krishna will be very happy if I serve Vaishnavas. That is very true. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a shloka, Madbhakta Puja and Pujabhidika, and I forgot the next line. I will be very happy if my devotees worship my devotees. He uses the word puja. Respect and worship my devotees. Krishna will be very happy. And the elderly Brahmana and the younger Brahmana said, it's my duty. I'm treating you like my spiritual master. I'm so happy that I've got a pure person's association in this travel. And don't think like this. And the elderly Brahmana was so happy and blissful. And he said, no, I have to do something to you. I have to do something. I should express my gratitude. I will give my daughter in marriage. Ramayana says, never make promises when you are in happiness. Never take decisions when you are in misery. Don't do this. Ramayana says, because, okay, we shouldn't take decisions when we are disturbed. That's quite okay. We all know, because we will take wrong decision. Why does the scripture says, don't give word, don't make promises when you are in bliss? Because when we are in happiness, we will forget our limitation. We will say, I will do this, I will do that, I'll get you this, I'll get you that. Then we will be wondering from where I can bring all those things. So never make promises when you are in happiness. But the elderly Brahmana was so moved, filled with gratitude. He said, I'll give my daughter. Then the younger one said, that's not possible. Don't, I cannot compare me with you. You are from an aristocratic family, rich man, and highly educated person. Your family, your friends, your relatives, your villagers, they don't allow, they will not permit. He said, no, 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 no. My daughter is my property. I will give her. And they, said, no, I didn't expect anything in return to serve you. It is my duty to serve you. There is a great, wonderful disciple of Ramanujacharya. His name was Kuresha. A beautiful pastime from his life. Every day morning he will open his huge compound gate just to give charity. And people will be standing in queue. And whole day Kuresha's job is to give charity. He was a very rich man. And one day Ranganathji was asking Lakshmi Devi, what is that noise every day, morning and night? What is going on? Big noise in the morning and in the night. Then Ranganathji answered Lakshmiji, that is my devotee closing his gate and opening his gate. Why is he doing that? He is opening his gate for giving charity, and by sunset he closes the gate. Then Lakshmiji said, I wanted to meet him. Send him a message, bring him here. Then the message reached Kuresha that Ranganathji and Lakshmiji wanted to meet you. And Kuresha asked, why all of a sudden? What's the reason? They came to know about your charity and they wanted to meet you. And Kuresha was taken aback. He told, I don't want to be known because of my charity. I should not be known because of my activities. Simply by my devotion, I should please Krishna, not because of all these material activities. Thinking like this, Kuresha renounced everything and left home. Just opened the gate and he walked. He told the villagers, you take whatever you want. It's a very important lesson. We should not be known as a good kirtaniya. We should not be known as a good cook. We should not be known as a great managers. We should be not known as leaders. We should be known as devotees. In that category, we should please Krishna. So, the younger Brahmana said, no, I didn't expect anything in return and render devotional service. But the elderly one was so insisting. Then the younger one finally said, okay, if you desire so. And what if you go back and your family members reject you? What will happen? Said, no, nothing will happen like that. I am the head of the family. I am the elder one and my daughter is my property. And if I say, nobody can deny. Then the younger Brahmana said, if you are insisting so much, please make a promise in front of Gopal. Then both the Brahmanas went there, stood in front of Gopal, and they spoke. And Gopal became very happy with them because they both are wonderful, sincere Vaishnavas. In the same way, when we take Diksha, we also make promises in front of Krishna. Somehow now, in temples, in any of the temples in India, they don't allow to conduct wedding right in front of the deity. If you go to Tirupati, the marriage is outside the Garbhagudi, outside the main temple. Even in ISKCON now, they stopped conducting wedding in the temple hall. It is conducted outside. Temples don't, even traditional temples don't allow conducting weddings in front of the deity because we make a promise, very serious promise in front of deities that the man promises, I will take care of this girl in every thick and thin of my life, in all situation. I will make sure she doesn't shed tears. And the girl makes a promise, I will always follow him like a shadow, whatever the situation may be. and they break the promises, it becomes a offense. So that's why nowadays they don't conduct wedding in temples. So making promises in front of deities, in front of Vaishnavas, something a serious business. So when we take Diksha, we make promises in front of deity. So it's a very serious business. So the two Brahmanas discussed and spoke and came into an agreement in front of the deity. And they went back. And actually the younger Brahmana was not so much worried. He continued serving the elderly one, and they went back to their respective homes. After some time, the elderly Brahmana, when he came into reality, came back home, he was very disturbed. So one day he called all his relatives and narrated the whole thing and said, I made a promise to this younger Brahmana, so I should give my daughter in marriage. And all of them said, are you mad? Are you crazy? Bringing some uneducated, poor person into the house? The relatives said, if you do that, we are going to break the ties, all connections with you. And wife and son and daughter, they said, if you get into conduct this marriage, we will drink poison and die. And the elderly Brahmana was very disturbed. I made a promise in front of the deity. Then his son came. He's an atheistic fellow. He came and said, okay, who cares? The deity is not going to come and give a witness, right? Forget it. But the elderly Brahmana, I can't go back from my word because that is dharma. We live by principles. We don't live by whims, Animals live by whims and fantasies. Humans live by principles. Dharmo rakshita rakshita. That is the difference between we and animals. We have some principles. Dharma. Then the atheistic son started arguing, and he said, okay, if you're feeling so bad, you just keep quiet and you just say you don't remember anything, you are very old, and I will take care of the rest. Then after some days, the younger Brahmana felt it's time for him to get married, enter into the next ashrama of life. Every ashrama of life should support us in getting closer to Krishna. That is very important. It is not for our pleasure. Husband, wife, children, dependents. It is like we are a gardener, and that garden is given in our custody. It's my duty to pour water, maintain the garden, and finally take the flowers and place it at the lotus feet of Krishna. A gardener is not supposed to enjoy the flowers of the garden, and that is the mood of a householder. The family which is given to me by Krishna is a garden. Let me take care, let me maintain this garden and finally offer each and every flower to Krishna. So this younger Brahmana felt like, it's time for me to get married, and he remembered the promise. Then he went and spoke to the elder one. The elder Brahmana was very disturbed seeing the younger Brahmana. Generally, the moment we see devotees, we should be happy internally. We should be blissful internally. If we are not blissful internally when we meet devotees, that means we are doing something wrong. When you cheat, when you lie, when you hide something, then we don't feel like facing devotees. We keep avoiding satsang. We keep avoiding the presence of Vaishnavas. That means we are doing something wrong. So the elderly Brahmana was very disturbed. And the younger one said, I came to get your daughter's hand in marriage and you promised me. Then the elder Brahmana said, no, I don't remember anything. Said, you made a promise. By the time the son of the elder Brahmana brought a stick, and he was about to beat the younger one, then the younger one ran away. The next day he came with villagers and they narrated the whole thing. Then the son said, no, this boy is a thief. My father went to pilgrimage, on a pilgrimage with a lot of money, and this man tried to steal all the money and everything and tried to kill my father, and now he has come back and he is just attracted to money. Then the villagers are also confused. And they asked the elder Brahmana, what has happened? And the elder Brahmana did not know what to do. He couldn't go against. And Nityananda and the example given is Bhishmaka and Krishna. Rukmini's father was Bhishmaka. And Bhishmaka wanted to get his daughter Rukmini married to Krishna. And his whole family was desiring. Rukmini had 5 brothers, out of 4 brothers were willing, parents were willing, everybody was willing to give Rukmini to Krishna. But one brother, Rukmi, was not very happy. So family means compromise. Once one Maharaj said, the secret of successful family life. 3 secrets are there. First one, compromise. Second one, compromise. Third one, compromise. We have to simply compromise. We have to adjust. And if we put that same compromise in devotees, in the community of devotees, even 10% of it, the community will be very successful. How much we are adjusting the family members, our children, our dependents. Sometimes we may have to do something, we will be thriving, we will be desiring, but we have to stop doing it because of family. So, the villagers came and there was a heated argument and discussion, and finally the younger Brahmana said, no, there is a witness, Gopal is the witness. And people started laughing. Is Gopal going to come and be the witness here? And he said, yes, Gopal had made the promise, I will go and bring him. Then he walked all the way to Vrindavan, and all the way, throughout the way, he is thinking, Krishna, I am doing this not for my marriage. I am doing this so that the people won't deny your existence. And he kept on teaching his own mind, I am doing this not for my selfish desires. The intention behind devotional service is very important. Why am I doing this seva? Is it to please devotees or just to satisfy my modes? The intention is very important. So he was teaching him again and again, I am doing this only for proving Krishna's existence, for people to make others, and not for getting this girl, not for getting married. He was teaching him again and again and again, and reached all the way. He went to Vrindavan and he went to Gopal, and he was in bliss in front of Gopal. And finally Gopal said, and he said, you have to be with us. When he said, I'm going to bring Gopal back to the village, all of them agreed. Even the elderly Brahmana agreed, because Gopal will come, I will be saved. Because he is also a very sincere devotee. He doesn't want to cheat the younger one. And the son was also happy because he was atheistic. He was thinking, anyway, deity will not walk and come. All were happy with that solution. So Krishna's leelas are amazing. Every leela will have multiple reasons and purposes, answering so many people. Like Kurukshetra battle, Bhima wanted to break the thighs of Dushasan. Karna wanted to become victorious. Arjuna wanted to defeat Karna at any cost. Yudhishthira wanted to regain he got a bad name, he wanted to regain his name. And Draupadi wanted to get a shampoo, the blood of Dushasan, so she can comb her hair back. All had different wishes, and everything was answered in Kurukshetra battle. That is why Krishna is always called a Chintamani. Whoever asks for whatever things, Devaki wanted Krishna, the Supreme Lord, to be her son. Krishna appeared and left. Yashoda wanted to see Balya Leela, childhood pastimes. Krishna performed and left. 16,100 princesses wanted to marry Krishna. Krishna married them and left. He will answer all. That is why better not to pray, because he knows more than what we can desire. Then, The younger one went and spoke and he said, okay, you go back to, Krishna said, you go back to your village, I will appear there. I will appear there and I'll bear the witness. Then the younger Brahmana said, no, that's not the way. Why? If you appear there in some four-handed form or something, people will not believe. You have to walk and come with me. And Krishna started laughing. Have you ever heard a deity walking? Then the Brahmana said, if the deity can talk, why can't he walk? So Krishna was trapped. There's a beautiful shloka in Bhagavatam. Aham bhakta paradhina. If at all I get defeated by anything or anyone in this world, I would prefer to get defeated by my devotees because that gives joy to me. I am not defeated by demons. I am not defeated by devas. I am not defeated by Kala. I am not defeated by karma because I am beyond everything. But if at all I am getting defeated, aham bhakta paradhina, I will get defeated by my devotees. Krishna takes a bliss in getting defeated by devotees. So he said, if the deity can talk, why can't he walk? Then Krishna said, okay, chalo, I am coming behind you, and how can I be sure? You will hear the ankle bell sound. And don't turn and look back. And walked. The deity walked from Vrindavan to Andhra Pradesh, Vidyanagara. And they both were chatting. So many things, they were talking and talking. Came close to the village, almost. And as the boy was coming closer to the village, he grew anxious, and all of a sudden he turned back. Then Krishna said, now I am not moving, I'll stay here, you go and bring the villagers. Then he went and screamed and yelled and told the villagers Krishna had come. They all came and they saw the beautiful form of Krishna. Krishna walked all the way. The beautiful smile and the pinkish lotus petaled eyes extended up to the ears and the curly hairs up to the shoulder and the flute, and devotees were in bliss. They were crying. They were paying obeisances again and again. And the elderly Brahmana came and with tears, Krishna, you saved me. I wanted you to come and give this witness. And both they got married. And Nityananda Prabhu says, this is not a story about marriage. This is a story about Krishna blessing his devotee. And the deity, Krishna told both the Brahmanas that you are Nitya Siddhas. That's the word used in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Both of you are my eternal servants. Don't worry. Continue serving me. And both the devotees served Sakshi Gopal the rest of their lives. And the deity was in Cuttack the deity was in Vidyanagara for a very, very long time. Then the king of, that's another story about the deity. The king of Vidyanagara and the king of Orissa, they had a battle. And the Orissa king won the battle. But he was also a devotee. So when he came and saw this temple, Sakshi Gopal, he was so, attracted by the presence of the deity. So he begged and requested the deity to please come. Because the king, if he wins the battle, then it's up to him. He can take anything, Then he took a special simhasan for Jagannath in Puri. He took so many things from Andhra Pradesh to Orissa. And he saw this deity, can you come with me to our place in Cuttack? Then the deity was so this thing. And the queen also came. Queen saw the beauty of the deity and she was lost. And suddenly she felt, if the deity had a nose ring, that would be better. Then she went and slept. And in the dream, Sakshi Gopal appeared and said, yes, I have a nose ring. There is a hole in my nose. Yashoda pierced my nose. There is a hole. So please come bring that ornament I will wear. Kasturi tilakam lalata falake vakshastale kausubam nasagre vanamautikam. Krishna always wears a stud, a pearl on his tip of his nose. Nasagre vanamautikam. So next day, the queen told about this dream to the king, and the king was so happy. They came and examined the deity. The deity had a hole in the nose, and they offered nose ring. Then the deity was established in Cuttack. Then a big hangama happened in Jagannath temple, in Puri Jagannath temple. Every day they were making so many sweets. You know Jagannath temple, the deity eats some 64 times a day. They don't wash his hand. I don't know whether you have seen the lassi glass of Jagannath in Puri. It's almost like our height, the lassi glass, big. It is like a swimming pool. In that glass only Jagannath drinks lassi. And he eats 64 times a day, and each time 56 items. I don't know how much he eats. Krishna, Jagannath eats so much. And something like late afternoon is time for sweets. Sweets again and again. So what is happening? The sweets are missing. The pujari, the cooks, they cook the sweet, fill the vessels, and they cover and they take it to the altar. By the time sweet reaches altar, it's all disappears. And there's a big commotion inside the temple. The pujari started fighting. They're quarreling. You stole it. He stole it. This happened. That happened. And the king was fed up. Who is stealing the sweets before offering? Don't steal, because it's all belong to you. Jagannath will give prasad. Why are you stealing? And the king put extra securities to check who is stealing. But nobody could find out who is stealing the sweets. Then the king submitted to Jagannath. Jagannath, please, you identify the thief. We are failed. We are defeated. We could not find the thief. Then Jagannath said, the person who is stealing all the sweets is Sakshi Gopal. Why did you bring him from Andhra Pradesh to Cuttack? He is staying next to me and stealing all the sweets. Move him away from this place. So that's a big, and Sakshi Gopal said, no, I'm not going anyway. You people are making me walk all the way. I was happily there in Vrindavan, and one devotee brought me to Andhra, and now you have brought me to Cuttack. What do you think? I'm like a toy for you? I'm not going anywhere. Then the king submitted to Sakshi Gopal, begged and said, I will offer the same amount of sweets. Please, please move from this place. And they moved from Cuttack to the present temple. And every day they offer the same amount of sweet. If they stop offering, he will go to Jagannath and steal. So avoid that, they are offering. What a personal pastimes are this. Archaye Vishnu. That's why they say Pratima Nahitu Sakshat Vrajendra Nandana. You are not idol. You are not metal, stone, sand, paint. Sakshat Vrajendra Nandana, son of Krishna. When we see Krishna like that, then Krishna reciprocates. So Lord Chaitanya heard this pastime from Nityananda Prabhu. And Lord Chaitanya was in bliss, dancing whole night in Sakshi Gopal temple. So deities are like that, very personal, and that's what Lord Chaitanya taught, and that is what Srila Prabhupada spread in the whole world. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.